Yeah, there are a lot of because this, unfortunately, these traditions from Americas, the old tribal people, they're not alive. So we have some shamans, some people that have some spiritual knowledge more related to healing, but all the spiritual knowledge is not alive as we have in the Vedic culture. So if we had one, let's say, Pandit alive there, with a Pandit alive here, we could match and see the similarity. So every connection that we trace now is based on some coincidence of words, of astronomy. So for example, the Inca culture has a system of predicting the time that's very similar to the Vedic. And it's precise, as much precise, more than science. Science now has proven that our Vedic calculations are very, very good. No? But even before that, Inca and the Vedic would be the same type of calculation. I've heard about that. I've not checked it myself because I've not studied the Inca civilization. We have also some words that they are very interesting from our culture that people don't realize. For example, there is this word called Om Sa. Oh, look how interesting. No? Om Sa. No? You know what it means? It's a tiger. No? It's Om Sa. But it's a name of God. In the culture of the tribal people, Om Sa is like Ishvara, you know. So it's like if it was the tiger of Durga, you know, something like this, you know. You have also another word called Kayano. Now, Kayano means the year that falls, that where the time stops, you know. It's like Kayano. There are a lot of words that we have in our culture that is connected to the understanding of Vedanta, understand? But it's all assumptions. You cannot tell this is the real meaning because it's not alive, and second, because in our culture we don't have this etymological study like Sanskrit. So we connect the sound, we connect the meaning, and we see that it could be, but we cannot be 100% sure, unfortunately.
So what was your perspective? Was it very easy or difficult for you and your students to accept this very easily? Or it comes with some...
It has some advantage and some disadvantage. So the first disadvantage is that it's not part of our culture. So everything that we hear sounds odd. Ganesha, Ganapati, Shivanantaraj, what? You don't know what the person is speaking even, you know. So it's very difficult, and we don't relate, we don't have an emotional connection, you know, because we don't relate from childhood with all these symbols. But one thing is true, most of us have some previous Janma connection. So once we are in the temple, everything strikes and we just say, oh my God, this is the place, you know. Somehow, I love this. There is this type of sensation also. But we have to discover it. And that's why, like, one of the reasons why I take the students to India is so that they can have this experience of connecting to an old tradition that probably these people are from, because how they are in Brazil studying Vedanta, I don't know. And actually there are a lot of people really studying, not like passing time, studying Sanskrit mantras and everything, you know. So let's come to India and make this connection, you know. But there is one big advantage, you know, and this is not because of Brazil. It's because not knowing the tradition, nothing's taken for granted. They want to understand everything. So if the person say Krishna, well, I don't know what is Krishna. Tell me. Krishna means black. Krishna comes from this root, means this. So we are open to learn everything, and this is something that sometimes in the Indian culture people are not open. Sometimes I've seen some Indian people that like they think that because they were born here, they know the culture, and then they are open. Because, you know, the second point, they lose the method. You know, maybe they know the story, but they don't know what symbolizes what, you know. So what is the process that's being described and all this, you know. What I done in Brazil is that sometimes I take some, for example, inside meditation, when you, let's suppose, a very powerful Swami, like with a good voice, come and chant some, what is that famous Arati song? Imagine, your heart melts because of your connection for our culture and all this, with nothing. So like I sometimes insert some other songs, so we have meditation, and then I take some song from childhood that just represent love, and let's say that Krishna is going to appear. Then first I chant the song, and now Krishna appears. Then people cry. Means it works. Like, of course, it's not the mantra, but anyway, the emotional part, it comes, and then you give the mantra later, and then the connection happens. So you have to do some adaptations to make to be fair, to the culture. Because, one thing is the Vedic tradition, the other thing is the Hinduism, and the other thing is Vedanta. Although here we see the three things together, very clear for a Brazilian that is studying Vedanta, they are not the same thing. You can be a Hindu and don't know anything about Vedanta. You can have in the Vedic tradition a lot of crazy ideas about religions, and Vedanta has nothing to do with it. And for example, I have 2 Catholic priests that are my students, and they attend classes in robes, and say it was the biggest blessing that I could have in my life. I have very old, 70 years old, and they say, oh, now I can understand what is these concepts that I have studied so much. Because, of course, there are a lot of problems in the Vedic Church. I don't need to tell about this, But in Brazil, a priest is a sannyasi. For example, a person that does not want to live a normal life and wants to take to a spiritual life, he goes to the church. The only thing that that they have. So there are a lot of people there, they are not religious, they are just spiritual. And that's what they have and that's what they get. And suddenly they discover something else, And some priests, I have to tell them, don't chant mantras in the church, because we will get problems, Then the priest starts, there's one famous priest, he was 80 years old, and it was not my student, but he studied with somebody else, and all his, church sessions, services, he would start with Om. And we all liked very much, because Om. And then it's, oh my God, this is perfect. So like this. And just for curiosity's sake, Brazil was created from a mixture of different people, different cultures. So they don't have a feeling of being from any religion, no, from anything. So they just want the truth. This is very good for the mind, But Brazilians, they don't respect rules. Like the popes say one thing, they do another thing. Because it's a different mindset. That's why. So let's say I don't want to be from Grihasta, okay? What's the option I have here? I can be a priest. Okay, I'll be a priest. Do you accept Jesus, Mary, Jerusalem? Yeah, yes, I accept everything. It does not matter. They don't have this idea of belonging to a religion, They accept everything. And then on the next day, let's put the Muslim invade Brazil. Okay, so now we put the thing and it's okay. They don't have the sense of belonging, because the tradition is not theirs, It's not like here, that it's the heritage. No. Somebody came with a flag and put there. So, okay, we accept. So there is no evangelist society, is not that much widespread like other. They try, but does not sustain for a long time. So, for example, the evangelic is there, go to the astrologer. Astrology and evangelic is something opposite, They go for a spirit house for healing. So it's not it's not like here. It's a different mindset. Then we will have to do a pilgrimage in Brazil for you to understand. Like we have to take the students to explain what is a Vedic heritage. It's a completely different mindset. So people just don't have this sense of belonging, So what is very good in terms of the study mind, Although we don't have the emotional connection, then we have to catch up, different way, We cannot have everything, in society. Yeah, it's very. But look, there was a Jewish that came to me from Mahavakya. So, teacher, I suddenly realized one thing. What? The meaning of shalom. The meaning of shalom. What is the meaning of shalom? Shanti Alam Om. That's how they do. So they start Shalom, Shanti Shalom, Shanti Shalom. And they start a new song, and that's okay because it's not their culture. Shanti Alam Om is Shalom. Done. I changed my mindset, So if you go there someday, you have to have this flexibility because they are crazy. Yeah. For example, my mother, when I started studying Vedanta, she said, "Oh, be careful, these fanatic things. You are wearing strange dresses, chanting in the morning. This is not good. Why don't you do it like once a week? Why won't you chant every day? You are becoming obsessed, this and that." There's lots of things. Then after like 5 years, I was more loving, Then she, it's me. You keep doing what you're doing. I don't approve it, but keep doing it. It's working, Now, today, my mother is in Nepal, in a Shiva temple, learning how to paint. These mandalas and all. But mother, you said that you did not approve. They don't have this concept, tradition, this. And now I want to paint. They know how to paint. This Shiva temple is very powerful. I feel the energy. That's very good. Mother, I told you this time ago. No. Now, I recognize this is good. That may not be. This is good. Okay.
So you didn't become a sannyasi?
That's a good question. Actually, when I started studying, I thought I would become a sannyasi. So I say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye people, I don't know if I'm going to come back. I bought some orange robes. And I still have, because if something goes wrong, I put the orange and say, it's like a parachute, All these things I did. But then, what happened? I saw that three important things. Now, first, I understood that I was going to go back to Brazil. After some time, I saw that my place, for that time being, was there. And being in Brazil, in Orange, I'm not recognized as a spiritual person. I'm recognized as some sort of weird person, So, and I even spoke to different Swamis and like Paramarthanandaji and all, and they told, no, in this situation you should not use orange. You can take to sannyas, but you should use a color and a way of dressing that people there will respect you as a spiritual person. And in general, what they do there, they will choose one color like white, because white is connected to spirituality, and use always the same clothes. Something like this. And then, it's the same as being a sannyasi, and people will see you as a spiritual person, and that's it, And but then also looking to these people that do this role in Brazil, they are seen as like, not as equals, as some people away from society, that are doing something. And then at the same time, for me, it was so important that my teacher was somebody available that I can talk to, that has a life similar to mine, that I can learn from. So I thought maybe this is not really helpful there in my culture. This was the first thing. Then the second point was that they released a lot of movies. One of a guy, an Indian guy that lives in the US. Have you seen Kumari? Kumari? You should see this movie. Yeah, the guy is an Indian guy born in the US that decided it's a film director and decided to pretend to be a guru, put like a big beard, and spread over US a lot of things that seems to be spiritual. Look in the eyes, feel the chakra, all this. And he made a lot of followers, a lot. And in the end of the movie, he says, okay, people, this was experiment. I'm not a real guru. And people got crazy, And I just looked to that and said, if I'm in a normal clothes, talking about happiness, people will have to think, to listen to me, a young boy, Brazilian, not Indian, in the normal clothes. If they are coming to study, it's because they are really interested in what I'm telling, Once I put like a different color, this, that, it will be a problem. No? And then I started to question why I would like to be in orange. And when I started studying Vedanta, I was very young, and as any person, I would always want to be like the best, to excel, So what is the best in terms of spirituality? Oh, you should be a sannyasi. In a young age, it's me. Yeah? So all these ideas I had in mind, and I was not listening to what I would like to do, And when all these things came down, and I saw that it's not necessarily good to be a teacher in orange, and I started to see what I wanted for my life, I saw that I wanted to be married, and I wanted to have a normal life. I did not want to be part of a monastery or no. And then I said, okay, so why I would take to that? No? So I understood that depending on the situation of the society, sannyasa is the only way that a person could really study, Because if you don't have this opportunity, for example, to be here with Swamini, how are you going to have access to this knowledge? And some time ago it was like that, If you want to study, you have to become at least a brahmachari in some ashram, in Rishikesh or some other place, and study so that you can get the knowledge. But this is not true now. If you really want to study, you don't need to do anything, just come and study. And if this is available, so now the choice of becoming a sannyasi is not only about having the knowledge. It's about a lifestyle. It should be a lifestyle that you are desiring to have. And of course, it's a lifestyle that is totally connected to knowledge and favorable to make you study all the time and no commitments to anything. It's perfect, So like this, and then I saw, no, I want to be a grihasta, And then I came back home. My mother was very happy. Said, Vedanta worked. Because you came back and you want to get married.
What about your wife says the same thing, Vedanta worked?
I could only see I met my wife after coming from the 3-year course. So she did not know me before. So she thinks I am a nice person.
See.
It was...
How were you introduced to this?
It was very much oriented to trying to find a healthy way of living. And I had a yoga teacher in Brazil that happens to be a Vedanta teacher also by that time. And he was like a beginner, but it was exactly what I need. And he could take me out of samsara, the basic mindset, and put me into yoga, artha, kama, dharma, and all these things I was learning and I was growing, And then after it was progressively. Then I came to know Puja Swamiji in the US. Then I came to India the first time. After I came to India, everything changed. Because then this connection to the culture happened. And then I started to find a lot of love for chanting, for meditating, doing a lot of activities. It was like an explosion. Like that. So I came twice to India. The first time I came to a camp in Rishikesh, And I spent 6 months. And it was very interesting because I enjoyed a lot, but at the same time, this thing, heart of the student that I was speaking, I would see a lot of people studying for so many years and not getting the knowledge. That I said, that if I want to come back, I'll come for the 3-year course. Because it's so expensive for me to come, I cannot come every year to see Puja Swamiji. So I will prepare myself and come for a bigger thing, if I come. Then I went back, worked a lot, took care of my grandmother, that she was old by that time, living with me. And after some years, then I decided to do the 3-year course, but there was no 3-year course announced. So I started to study Sanskrit, because I knew this was a big disadvantage for me. So by the end of the year, 1 year I did that. By the end of the year, Puja Swamiji announced that in the next year, there's going to be a 3-year course. So I came and met Mrinalini. Oh, Swami Brahmaprajnananda. Yeah, going and coming from the sadhanas is normal. First thing we should know. We are doing japa every day. Then suddenly 1 week we stop. And then you take it back. This is supposed to happen. Even because the subconscious need this time to process, If you take the, let's say, the good medicine all the time, for example, when I was in the ashram, my teacher, the Swami Sakshat Ji, said to me, now you have to stop the japa. Because I did so much japa that my emotions were not coming out. And if the emotion does not come out, I don't have how to solve it. So stop the japa, stay some time without any japa, just so that you can feel the jagat, the world, the problems, you know. Because if you do a lot of japa, you stop any emotions again. If the emotions come just like Matrix, you know, over. And you feel powerful. That's not supposed to happen, you know. So all these things happen. You do a lot, you stop, you come again, and do. But if you ask me for a tip, so that you made the best of it, you know, you have to practice your Shraddha. This is the thing, Shraddha, you know. What takes us out of our sadhanas is because we are not beginning with the right Shraddha. Are you invoking your ancestors really before starting the japa? Are you really connecting to the gratitude you have towards your teacher? Are you really thinking about all the problems you have in your family that are dependent on that japa, so that you have a clear mind to be a better husband? If all these things is invoked before you start, you do it very well, you know. If you just sit and say, oh, this is nothing, you know. You have to really become your temple, you know. Just invoke all the sacred things that you have from inside you, and then do it. And then you feel each ball, you know, each beat, you know. And it does not matter if you do only one. It's better than doing 100 anyway, you know. I think this is, it would be a good thing that personally, if a person has a doubt, to ask the teacher. Because in general, when we have the doubt if we are really doing what we are supposed to do, it's because there is something that we are avoiding, you know. It's something in our lives that we should do, we should take action, we should grow, and we are not doing because of some block in the mind. And the teacher has the ability to know and also to show us how to overcome the block, you know. So the role of a student is clear for everyone. To be a good student, to attend the class. But if I have a doubt if I'm doing it properly, then we should talk personally. You know, maybe you should ask Swamini later, or whoever has this type of doubt. You know. I have a teacher that says like this. For example, he would ask me, do 2 rounds of japa per day. Okay. Then after 5 days, he asks, how many rounds did you do? I say 10. Then he comes to me, only 10? I asked you to do 2 per day. 5 days, you did only 10. You did not have the eager inside to do 3, 4, 5. Why don't you open the book and read the previous class again? You know? So there is sometimes a tamasic situation in the mind, you know, that we just accommodate and think that knowledge will come naturally. So naturally we die. That's what happens. We don't get knowledge, you know. It's very important, no? This naturally comes chronic pain. All these things come naturally. Knowledge, love, connection, affection, all this comes with tears, sweat, you know, a lot of effort to become a better person. Because in the beginning, I had this orientation of becoming a good student and then a teacher. And I thought that being a Swami would help me on that. And then I saw that not necessarily. And if you think about Brazil, it could be even worse if you are a Swami. You understand? So this was one thing. But this was not the reason why it not because really, if I want to become a Swami, it's not because I'm going to teach or not to teach. It should be because of my lifestyle choice, you know. And then I came in contact with that. What do I really want? Forget this idea of becoming a teacher. Forget the idea of impressing myself or the world for being a master or whatever. What do I want, you know? Do I want to live this lifestyle or this lifestyle? Then I said this. And maybe there are some things for me to grow as a person that this will help me. Why not? Nah? So this is like it has been very fulfilling to me to have a wife and to have a dog. Sometimes I have a child also. Nah? And I take care of a house and I cook. and I have my students, and they come. No, Juliana is from Brazil also. She have been there, and a lot of people. It's a very happy life, you know. So nobody should say, "Oh, you're not a sannyasi." Like, no, man, I don't want. I'm very happy, you know. And if someday I want, I have the orange robes and the sannyasa mantra. I have it. Somebody gave me, so I can just say, put, and over. Parachute. Parachute sannyasa. Actually, apataka sannyasa means he's falling, no? Like parachute.
So how do you plan to take, or like in India it is a little difficult.
Yeah, it's
to
different.
reach out to different people
Uh-huh.
because of the different the different setups available.
Uh-huh.
There are lots of people teaching and lots of
Yeah.
So like in Brazil, I don't know how it is, but let's say if we need to reach out to more and more people, what should be the kind of way in which we can?
You're asking like how do I do?
How do you try to reach out to more people in terms of the knowledge?
I try to think about what they need, not what should I be, you know. So what society needs. For example, I did one time one meditation course online. Guess how many people were meditating 7 o'clock in the morning every day for 2 months? 50,000. 2 months.
Online.
Online, everybody together, you know. Like these last courses that I do, all have 50,000, 100,000 people, you know. But it's not oriented for like it's a Vedic culture. You want to become happy, you're not satisfied with your life, let's talk about this and see if it makes sense for you. And then we pay for Facebook. Facebook throw the videos for a lot of people. Some people pay for the course. You take the money, do more advertisement, and they pay you more advertisement until everybody is reached. So now, after this year, all the what they call the intellectuals, let's say, I don't know how you call it, people who graduated from university, everybody saw our videos. Understand? We all the Facebook, just because there is an attitude also, because we are not money oriented, you know. So if I take the whole money that they give me and I put in advertisement, there is no way that this cannot happen, because it's too much power, you know, in the system. The system is operating with people wanting to become rich. So if you don't want to become rich, you break the system.
That was my question. Is part of any curriculum in university has put this?
Yeah, no, you cannot do in a university because it has to be chosen. So like it cannot be like this.
This knowledge is not teaching as an academic way anywhere of the university.
No. But it cannot, you know. It should be chosen. You have to decide to study. You cannot go like to a philosophy course and somebody, now we are going to have a Vedanta class. It does not work. Yeah, I think the best thing is to understand that Ishvara always put us in a situation where we have what we need to learn. When we understand that, our family, our job, whatever we have to attend, is not something separate from the knowledge. It's a place where I have to apply what I'm learning, you know. So it's like this. When I talk to my mother, she becomes Durga, and I will do puja for her, what she needs. And I will overcome my emotional problems. And then I will be able to do dhanam. And then I will receive prasada. And all this situation will convert a simple situation of talking the phone with my mother to a puja. Understand? So I can do that in all the areas of my life. When I do this, I will never question, because all the time I'm studying. All the time and once something very nice is that when we grow out of let's say a need that we have, let's say a need for attention, a need for love, when we grow out of it, all the relationships change. They don't stay the same. So there is definitely something for us to learn, you know. So like this, Vedanta will work if you respect the usage of the pramana. So if you do the class as per what the teacher tells that you should do, read your notes, prepare for the next class, change doubts with the other students, do it thoroughly, like not obsessed, but like seriously, like a person doing a PhD, you know, he's serious, he's studying seriously. That's Pramana will work. The rest is changing our life, you know, into this Karma Yoga Puja mindset, you know. So even for me, for example, today, when I go to talk to someone, I'm not teaching anybody, you know. Actually, I feel that I'm learning. And sometimes you learn when you explain, sometimes you learn when somebody explains to you, sometimes you learn when it's explained through you, and you are just watching, you know. So in the mindset of a teacher, we are never a teacher, we are always a student, you know. And this was accomplished when we were studying, you know. I'm always a student, and this position of I'm a student, Dakshinamurti is around me, teaching me all the time, will keep me going, you know. Oh, very nice.